3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
It's Monday. It's Monday. It really is. 7 o'clock. And that can mean only one thing. It's time for Reading the Signs, where me, Comedy John Ryan, and my comedian pals from all over the world are going to be talking about comedy, well-being, why we do it, how we cope. And that's where we need your help. We need you to send us your top tips for well-being. Be part of the show. Drop a comment in the box on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the mensradiostation.com website. It's going to be a great show, much better than last week. What we're trying to do is think exceptional, which, funnily enough, is the motto of WJ, our show sponsors. WJ are the UK's leading road marking and highway maintenance company. They're working with us, we're working with you. Let's get to it. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Just a hello, really. Welcome along to Reading the Signs with me, John Ryan, where every week here on mensradiostation.com, we talk to a comedian from somewhere in the UK about their career, about what they do, how they do, why they do. And we just generally get a little bit of an insight into the mind of a performer. If you are there, as ever, do please give us a little comment. Drop us a note in the box to let us know that you're there. So give us a follow on social media as well. That'd be much appreciated. What kind of week are you having? What kind of day are you having? What have you been up to? It's a bit miserable, the weather here in Essex today, but I like it. I like the rain. I like the cold. I like the grey. Not everybody does. Some people like the sunshine. I don't really like the sunshine. So the point I'm trying to make is that we're all experiencing the same weather, but some of us are enjoying it a little bit more than others. And the weather, just like your well-being, affects people differently. So what may be a good day for you may be a bad day for someone else. It's just something to bear in mind, really. When you're thinking, oh, I'm not very happy, there's other people in the same boat on the same journey. So let us know what you've been up to. Let us know if you are there. If you're listening to us on SoundCloud, give us a like. Same with any of the other social media channels. Let's get on to it. Today's guest, well, this is a really good one for me because it being Valentine's, I thought we'd get a special person on this week. I've managed to get an agreement with one of, I think, the best comics, certainly that I've worked with. Definitely in the top 3 people to share a car journey with. There are people who are performers and there are people who've just got funny bones. And from the moment I first met tonight's guest, Suzy Bennett, but she's just funny. She's just a lovely, funny person who can make light of the darkest situations. And I think that's one of the things that will come through as we speak to her over the course of the next hour. So please do welcome her. And like I say, let us know you're there. Put a comment in the box. Give us a social media like. Do all this stuff. You know the thing to do. And a little warm welcome to the awesome, fantabulous Suzy Bennett. Look at that.
Hi.
What an intro. What a great intro.
That's so nice. What lovely things to say.
I know. I don't know where it came from. It just appeared in my brain. That's it.
Oh.
That's the impact. What have you been up to today?
Not much, to be honest. I accidentally drank a bottle of wine and a couple of strong gins last night, so I didn't get up early. And I normally on a Sunday, you see, I like the rain as well, but only on a Sunday because it's the perfect situation to stay in and watch Columbo all day. When it's raining outside, that's the perfect atmosphere for a Columbo and a nice cup of tea.
What is this thing with you and Columbo? Just explain it to me.
I love Columbo. Now, for those of you who've never watched Columbo, what have you been doing with your life? Because he's always there. You know, if you need Columbo, always on a Saturday and Sunday, look on all the 5 USA channels and the 5+1. They're always Columbo. Now, I remember when I first got into Columbo, I was off sick from work and I was feeling miserable and I was laying on the sofa with a blanket and I happened across a Columbo and it just was the perfect thing to watch. Perfect Sunday afternoon TV. And then I started to record them. So I put them on Planner and I started to record them. And then I loved them so much. I bought the DVDs and then it just escalated. And I've got T-shirts. I've got DVDs. I've even got Columbo's eyes that my brother painted for me. Look, I've got a block with Columbo's eyes.
Wow.
I think the most interesting thing I've got is my flatmates bought me a pair of knickers with I Heart Columbo on it. It's a white thong and it says I Heart Columbo.
Is there enough room to have that written on?
Sorry?
Is there enough room to have that written on?
Yes, yeah, they were quite small. So I've never actually worn them. I've just got them out at comedy gigs now and again. It's been quite interesting over the pandemic because I pretended I used it as a face mask because it just fits over that area. It doesn't fit over any other area, just that bit there.
Brilliant.
But Columbo is the perfect comfort telly.
Well, because we've had this conversation before. For me, it was always Monk. The same thing. I just stumbled across it one day.
I think there's a similarity there with the humour, and because Columbo's clever, but he pretends not to be clever. He kind of comes across as a shambling sort of wreck of a man, but he's really clever. And and the best thing about Columbo is who did it. It's just the way he kind of gets them in the end.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's just have a quick shout out to Lindsay Fredwell, who's joined us. Absolutely phenomenal. One of my favourite people. Look, I'm surrounded by goodness. Got you in front of me, Lindsay texting. It's just great that you've found the time to spend with us this afternoon or this evening or this morning or whenever people are listening. What's a typical Valentine's Day for you then? What's the thing you're looking for? Are you a woman who wants roses, or do you want
none of the cliches? No, none of that. I prefer something from the heart, not because I've been with my boyfriend 1.5 years now, and he's the absolute love of my life, dream man. It's going amazingly. And we, on our first date, we went for a pasty. We had we went for a pasty because he was in the audience of a show I was doing, and I did a bit about if Plymouth, because I'm from Devon, if Plymouth had its own version of Rush Hour Crush, like in the metro when people see each other on the tube and they say, "Oh, I saw you, fancy a coffee," sort of thing. Plymouth would have its own version, would be like, "Fancy going out for a pasty." And I saw him in the audience. We'd had mutual friends, so I was aware of him. And I did a bit about I like large men with beards. Which I see you've grown a beard,
mate. That's where I got the idea from. I knew I got it from somewhere.
I did a bit about that, and obviously he's a large man with a beard, dream man. And I did a jokey thing about going out for a pasty, and then that night he messaged me and said, "Hey, do you fancy going out for a pasty?" So the week after, we had a very chaste midday in broad daylight, sat and ate a pasty and a cup of tea. And the year later, when it was our anniversary, we went back to the same pasty shop and recreated our first date, and they gave us free pasties. Brilliant. And we had a plaque put up in the window.
Yeah. It's a Hollywood movie in the making, isn't it?
It is. And we were even in a book. There was a book called Lockdown Legacy, and I was asked to tell my story. I've got it. It's a bit of a plug here. Look, Network She, they're a female business networking company, and I've done a few shows with them. And she loved my story of my pasty date. And we've actually told the story, and it's lots of different people telling their stories of lockdown, some sad, some happy, some inspirational. And I wrote, "You had me at pasty." This was this was my story. You had me at pasty, and I talked all about our date. And then there's a lovely picture of us there, like, oh,
look at that. That's just, mate. Now, was it a proper pasty?
It was a steak and Stilton, best pasty in town.
No carrots.
No carrots. We don't do carrots. That's not right. And I did go to one place in Plymouth. It's gone a bit upmarket in Plymouth now. And they not only served it on a plate with a knife and fork, which is very wrong. You've got to eat it out of a bag on a bench or nothing at all. Not only did they do that, they put a side salad next to my pasty. And that was the one and only time in my life I've asked to speak to the manager. I was not having it. I was like, what is this? That's not right. But yeah, Malcolm Barnacut pasties, they're Cornish, but they do the best steak and Stilton. So we went there on our anniversary. And at the time, Plymouth were doing an art installation with the museum and the art college. And they were getting people to write in their memories. And it was all funny, sort of uplifting, light-hearted things like Karen got pooed on by a seagull here in 1984, that kind of thing. So it was like the blue pack, but they were pink plaques in the window. So me and my boyfriend, we had a pink plaque saying about our first date. Right. And so we had that up. So we were a little bit famous in the pasty shop that day.
Celebrity status.
Yep.
Well, they do say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach.
Oh yeah.
Although, was it Joe Brand who said the way to a man's heart is with a long knife through his back? Obviously, we're not going to condone violence of any form or sort. Or blah, 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 blah. So, when you was a kid, how did you fit? Are you right? Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got an older brother. He's 2 years older than me. And interestingly, my brother was really into martial arts, and I can see you're sitting in some kind of dojo there. I've been watching. I've been watching Cobra Kai recently. I can see you're in Miyagi-Do. Just behind you.
This is Tashido. So there's actually a Japanese laundry behind me. And, Yeah, it's fine. I actually, I love Cobra Kai. I did karate for 4 years when I was younger,
Yeah.
and when I went to university, I carried it on, not realizing that where karate is very peaceful, believe it or not, martial art. But the locals in Salford all thought that we wanted to fight them, and they would turn up when club finished, stand
Oh
around
no.
outside, wait for us to come out, and go, "All right, Bruce Lee, do you want some?
Yeah.
Fancy it?" So I used to bring a badminton racket with me. And then I'd walk out with my badminton racket and go, "Do you want some?" I'm just playing badminton,
No, I'm
mate.
gonna play badminton. That's a good plan. Good plan.
Eventually,
Well,
I get cool. Were you funny as a child?
I wasn't sure if I was funny, but I used to show off a lot. And I have these early memories because I used to always watch like Kenny Everett and Heidi High and the two Ronnies. I loved all those shows. And I used to do impressions of Kenny Everett. I used to put on the stilettos and do the old Cupid stump with the legs, like best possible taste. And I used to do silly impressions and things like that for my family. But I was into ballet and majorettes and tap dancing. I was always doing some kind of performing. And it wasn't actually, I didn't really do comedy till I was 30. But for years in my 20s, I was an entertainer in holiday parks, and I worked abroad as an entertainer. So I used to be on the microphone all the time, like cracking jokes, and just people would say, "Oh, you're really funny." So it just kind of developed from there, really. I had a bit of a way in with the holiday parks and the entertaining because I had a microphone in my hand. I was really comfortable in front of audiences, and a lot of people, when they start out in comedy, one of the main things to get over is getting out in front of an audience with a microphone. But I'd already been doing that, so I'd already had that, so I just needed to work on what to talk about.
what to talk about? And then what happened when were you at school? Were you an academic? Were you chatty? Were you trouble? What were you like?
I was all right. I did used to chat a lot, but I think that's part of being the joker. And I was quite brainy. I was good at English and drama and all those kind of things, but maths and science, no, that wasn't me. But I did well at drama. I was good at all that. And I remember when we left primary school, and all the teachers write on your t-shirt, and my teacher put "keep up the good work at drama," so I'd always remember that was good. But I only really sort of dipped into amateur theatre when I was a teenager, and I did a bit of that, but I didn't do any funny parts. And then I went off and did a BTEC in performing arts, and I kind of didn't like doing the serious bits. We used to have to do drama and stuff, but I wanted to do Victoria Wood sketches all the time. I just wanted to do impro and just be funny. I wasn't very good at the serious side of things, and so I didn't end up finishing the BTEC. I went off to be a Butlins-Redcoat.
Did you go straight into the Redcoat stuff? You didn't have any other jobs?
Yeah, I worked as a waitress. I did some general sort of rubbishy, just making money for rent jobs. I was a waitress in a Navy base for a few years.
Wow, where was that?
It was in Plymouth, HMS Drake, and I used to have to silver serve the officers, and I'm quite a clumsy person, so there was a lot of peas in laps and all that kind of thing going on. And but I had a good time with my workmates. It was good time. I was 18. I was out drinking every night and getting up for work, serving bacon and eggs, but feeling sick because I was hungover. But that's when I started to do the amateur theatre. I thought, I actually still want to perform. So if I could go back in time, maybe I would have gone to drama school or something like that. But I think everything I've done has sort of led to where I am, and has got me different skills and made so many friends around the world, which is brilliant, because now we've got Facebook. I can see these people that I was in a hotel with in Tenerife 30 years ago and be like, oh my God, well, 30. Hang on, how many years ago? 15, 20 years ago.
20. Well, we were talking before we came on here, weren't we, that I met your mate on a cruise ship. And she was just singing your praises, and when I was telling her about what a great comic you've become, she was kind of not even in the least bit surprised. Because
the feeling's completely mutual with her. She's a brilliant, and she was one of the characters at Butlins that was always very friendly with everyone, big friends. And I actually saw her. It was really strange because I was getting a new phone delivered, and I opened my door, and there she was delivering my phone. And she was like, all right. I was like, oh my God. It was like 20 years later. And then we obviously added each other on Facebook and things. And she's just so kind and fun. And one thing I will say about her, my dad was really poorly a couple of years ago, and we desperately needed to get one of those side gates for the bed, because he was kept trying to get out of bed. And I put it on Facebook. I said, does anybody have something like this? And she delivered it to me within half an hour. She'd given me one. It was just brilliant. That was just fantastic.
So that's the thing, isn't it? Because we travel so much and we've got these kind of scattered employment history. It's how we maintain those friendships, how we build friendships. So, for example, I was away last week for a very intensive week because we're traveling together, we're performing together, then we're traveling around cities together. So you have a day at Barcelona, and there's people that I've spent 10, 12 weeks away with who, if I saw them tomorrow, it's like bang, back onto it.
Yeah.
And even with yourself, I haven't spoken to you in over a year, but we'll be bang like where we were. Is there something about us as performers that makes it easy to do that, or is it our personalities, do you think?
I think it's when you spend a lot of time with people and it's special and you have a sort of a unique experience together. I mean, I moved away from Plymouth when I was about 20. So for like 20 odd years I was away. And then I came back and some old school friends that I used to go out with drinking when I was a teenager, we all met up. And I was nervous because I thought, right, they're all married with kids and I was not that person. And I thought, is it because I've always traveled around and, you know, I was single, no kids and everything. And I thought, is it going to be strange? Am I going to be the odd one out? Am I going to be like Bridget Jones at the dinner party, you know, where I was feeling really strange? But they were the same people. They were the same people. We were still like, we were drinking and like, let's go out. And they were just so happy to be out and got a babysitter for the night. And they were the same people. But, you know, it was brilliant that we still feel that, you know, in here, it's all the same.
Do you feel then that once you started doing your comedy, did you feel that you was able to kind of be yourself more or express yourself more?
Yeah, it took me a long time to realize that to be proud of my accent, because when I was younger I used to cringe when I heard myself because I joke that I'm like a female Hagrid. And you know, I'm not the most wordy of people. So, you know, when I listen to myself I cringe because I say like all the time, you know, and I'm not the most yeah, see, I've run out of words halfway through a sentence, but I used to hate it. But actually I've realized over the years that people warm to me because of the accent. They love it. And you know, people, the best compliment I get is people coming up to me after a gig saying, oh, I want to be your friend, I want to go for a drink with you, you know, I relate to you. And you know, and I've embraced that now, and I'm a proper flag waving Devonian now. I'm loving being back in Devon and doing lots of local gigs. And yeah, it took me a long time to get back here.
Do you think though that what was This Country? Did you watch This Country?
Oh, loved it. Yeah.
I thought that was something I could have seen you popping up in that. Just that kind of, because it's real. The humor is very much in the moment and
Yeah.
very kind of observational, descriptive, and things like that. What was the first gig you did?
Well, the first official as a stand-up comedian gig was in the final of Jimmy Carr's Comedy Idol, because a friend of mine had gone along, and it was a thing he was doing for his bonus features on his DVD in 2005. This was a long time ago. And we had to do 5 minutes, and I didn't have 5 minutes. I said, I got 5 minutes. And he went, oh, please come with me. I don't want to go on my own. So I went, okay, I'll go along. And then I had to wait all day. It was like a bit of like an X Factor thing. People were coming and going, and Jimmy Carr was on the panel with some other people. And by the time I got in, I'd been waiting around for sort of 8 hours, and I went in and I sort of cracked a few jokes about the day. And then I went into my material, and Jimmy Carr said, oh, I found you very funny. You're a funny person. You know, before you did your material, you were funnier. And that's been said to me again, you know, that I'm funny as a person. So, you know, my writing I didn't really know how to write comedy at the time, but I got through to the final, and the final was at the Comedy Store. And I got introduced on the stage by Jimmy Carr, and I had to do them, and it was brilliant. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't win. It was an audience vote and I didn't win, but it went well and I felt really good. But then it was on the DVD, and I watched the DVD and I hated it and I cringed, and it completely put me off. I didn't do anything for about a year. And and then I entered the Funny Women Awards because I thought, oh, I'll give it another go. And then
Could you just explain what the Funny Women Awards were?
The Funny Women Awards, it's been running since 2003, and it's basically for women and female identifying. And it's just, I mean, it's a platform really for women who want to have a go at comedy. And the awards have been running every year, and they had some like big name winners like Catherine Ryan and London Hughes, Andy Osho. Yeah, I accidentally won it in 2006, and I won a holiday. That was one of the things.
How did you accidentally win it?
I accidentally won it. I think it's because I didn't think I was going to win it. I just thought, oh, well, I've done all right. I've got through. And my mum was coming up to see me at the Comedy Store, and some friends of mine from work had come, and they were all there. And I thought, well, you know, I've got to this will do. And that's all I expected. And then they announced the reverse order, a third second and first place, and the person I thought was going to win came second. So I was stood there with a glass of wine in my hand going, oh, she's come second. Oh, I wonder who's won then. And then they called my name, and my friend had to nudge me and go, it's you. And I was like, what? So, but the best, I mean, I won a holiday to Cyprus, and I took my mum with me. It was like a 4-star holiday, and that was what I kept joking with her. I said, oh, maybe I'll win a holiday, mum. Joking. And then I actually did. And that kind of gave me a bit of a head start, because I'd won a competition. People were then, oh, well, you've just won that, so you're obviously all right, I'll book you. So I didn't have to do traipsing around open mics a lot. So that was great in a way. Because, then, but I think it made me a bit not really try very hard, because I just did gigs when people asked me to do gigs,
So then when you started out, do you feel that gave you a hand up entering a female only or female identifying only?
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, definitely. Because, I can now say, well, I won that. So people would think, oh, she's won a competition. So, but I feel like if I knew then what I know now about the industry and all that kind of thing, I could have sort of run with it and sort of got an agent or, done more with it. But I didn't really, because I was still working full time and I was still new. I actually turned down a gig because they said, can you come and do a 15-minute spot? And all I had was my 8 minutes that I'd literally written for a competition. So I said, oh no, and knowing what I know now, obviously I should have taken it and just done it. But, I was just really naive to the whole industry and how to get gigs really. And people would contact me and I'd say, oh yeah, I can do that. So I kind of just floated around doing that for a while.
Do you feel, obviously you can only speak from your own experience, but do you think it is harder for women in comedy, or do you think that there should be sort of special kind of dispensation given, or do you think you like men just think it's only for men?
I think if you'd asked me a few years ago, I would have said yes, but I think it's changed a lot in the last few years. I would say it's actually an advantage now, really, because people are very more aware of the diversity of their lineups, and they say specifically we need a woman for this, because they want to have a diverse lineup. So a few years ago I would have said yeah, definitely, it was harder, but because there used to be that sort of feeling, for instance, I was booked to do like a gentleman's golf day, which is absolute nightmare. And the person who introduced me on said, oh, we've got a female comedian coming on. And then he said, oh, apparently she's quite good. And I was like, why did you just do that? He just threw me under the bus, because it was like he was apologizing for me being there. And why do you have to feel the need to warn them? And they all kind of sitting there crossing their arms going, what? And it was just oh God.
It's interesting for me because it's like it implies, I mean, I want a more diverse society. I want fairness and equality. And I realize that for that to happen, we have to in some ways have little protected zones to give people the opportunity. But I'm always fascinated by the fact that the default position for comic is male, right? And you go, well, why is that? Because I live with a woman who's hilarious. I had 2 very funny sisters. My mum's sense of humor. When I do Irish Centre gigs, I just come out with some of my mum's phrases, and people they wet themselves. It's just hilarious. So I've always been around women who are funny, maybe confident and strong, will like make you laugh or knock you out. So when I came onto the circuit, that was one of the big things for me that I couldn't understand why companies would go, well, it's just a girl, or here, get ready, there's a woman coming on now, but don't worry, I'll be back in 20 minutes.
And that people don't believe it, but that gets said. Things like that get said quite a lot.
And you have to ask yourself then, is it then, so like you mentioned people who define themselves as female, or and this is a big issue on the comedy circuit at the moment, which again I don't understand, because your life has no impact on me unless you live next door to me and I'm not allowed to use your recycling bins. It's that thing of what does it matter to me if you're gay, straight, trans, whatever. And so again, I think the comedy circuit is like 25-30 years behind the times. And I watch people like yourself, because you're a bit of a pioneer now. Look at Sajila now, finally getting TV, right? You are. You're like one of them trendsetters. They'll be wearing T-shirts with your face on soon.
I got my Golden Girls T-shirt on. Look, I'm bigging up the Stay Golden, the older women.
Well, do you know what's interesting? I read that the Golden Girls were actually younger than the Sex and the City girls now.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? And it's the
Wow.
80s. It's the hairstyles. It's the
Yeah.
whole perm situation. Yeah. I've got an auntie. She's 72 now, and I went to stay with her in Florida, and it completely changed my outlook about age and everything, because her and her mates, they were like the Sex and the City girls. They would go out drinking cocktails, sitting on the beach, living the best life.
Brilliant.
And I just thought, oh wow, because I used to think of the 70s, you'd think of like the Queen with a perm or something, but now it's like, yeah, Helen Mirren the other day was on Graham Norton, and I was like,
amazing.
Look at her, she's so cool.
Yeah, and you have to. I can't remember. She's in her 70s, isn't she?
I think so. Yeah. She's wearing these crazy biker boots with buckles on. I was like, oh yes, Helen.
Rock that look. If ever you want to see a cringe-worthy bit of television, go on YouTube and Google Helen Mirren Michael Parkinson interview.
I've seen it.
Horrendous.
Oh, and he says about her being sexy, and does it put people off her acting or something like that? And ooh.
But the thing is, how much has changed? Because let's be honest, you go on stage, and I think you're judged differently to how I'd be judged. So I can be fat, scruffy, have a beard, be a bit of a mess, and people go, "Well, you're a comic. You're meant to be a bit of a mess." But when I've noticed female acts going on, if they look too hot, it turns off all the women and all the blokes, change their vibe. So how do you counter that? What is there a strategy? Do you kind of not wash for a couple of days? I
just mentioned that I'm 45. I'm no threat to anyone. I just, I show them my neck, got the wrinkly neck thing going on. I have seen a lot of newer female comics, and a lot of us, mostly our default mode is self-deprecation, and we talk about our wobbly bits and talk about things like that. But I have seen a couple of very pretty sort of model like comedians come on, and they talk about, oh, it's so difficult being so pretty and stuff like that. And you do get a sense from the audience like, oh, because they're you can sort of say, well, what's wrong with being confident and loving yourself, but that kind of, you want the audience to be on your side and identify. That's what I like. I'm relatable because I talk about my belly and my tights are falling down because my belly's so big and all that stuff.
But is it then that we need to train the boys to kind of go, no, look, you can't be doing that? Because we know that there are a lot of promiscuous men on the circuit, as well as, and why not? And women, so it's all consent and the rest of it. However, the women are still judged differently by it and for it in 2022. And I think audiences do that as well, which is why I remember once being at the Comedy Store, and the compere, for some reason in the interval, tried on the lipstick of her mate. Then when she went in for the start of the second half, had lipstick on and got ripped by the other acts and by the hecklers, because she'd suddenly become a girl rather than some sort of gender. Rather become some sort of gender neutral comic. But so with that in mind, then, do you think, is there like a glass ceiling? Is it still harder, do you think, for female act or female identifying acts?
I don't know. I don't think it is anymore. Like, I think the last couple of years, and especially with the whole Me Too, because people are just. I've got a couple of groups on Facebook, female comedians, sort of safe spaces, and they talk about, okay, I gigged with this person and I didn't feel safe, and they talk about things, and people have come out on social media and said this person, because promoters, the way they've been treated, for instance, and it's more vocal. People are not afraid to talk about that anymore, and people are listening, and people believe, when you've had a tricky situation. But
I think that whole Me Too thing, what fascinated me was that, if you remember, at Edinburgh about 5 years ago, we started up get a safe taxis home for women from the venues, and a lot of the lads started complaining.
I know.
Was like, what is wrong with you people?
It always happens because it's not about them. There is an issue as well. Of course, men can be attacked and feel vulnerable, but at this point, it was just after a female comedian was murdered walking back from a gig, and that's what brought it out into the open. And that, obviously it was a brilliant thing, because Angela Barnes was starting it, wasn't she? And because I haven't been to Edinburgh for years. But it's a brilliant thing, and I if there was a man who was feeling that way, I'd like to think they would let them use it as well. But it's like when you put something there's a charity and someone says, oh, but what about this charity? It's like,
Yeah.
we're not talking about
That
charity.
whole what about
It always happens. It's like the whole International Men's Day thing that Richard Herring used to do on Twitter, where he would sit there for a whole day answering people who'd said, oh, well, what about International Men's Day? And he'd tell them when well, this is your day. You've got one.
Yeah, because it'd be International Women's Day. And then people go, what about men? Well, it's again, at the moment,
they hijack it. And
I often start with a routine about that I'm a white male, middle-aged European man. When's it going to be our turn? When are we going to get benefits? And I've had to stop doing it in certain rooms because there's men going, yeah, actually, that's a fair point. Why are all like, the blacks and the gays and the women? What about us straight white blokes? So we've only been we was only on top for since the Stone Age.
Yeah. They can all go and follow Lawrence Fox if they want.
There you go. Good old Big Laurie, the hero to the idiots. So for people who are just joining us, this is the phenomenally funny Suzy Bennett. I want to have a quick mention of our sponsors, WJ, who are the UK's leading road marking company. They sponsor the show and they're very supportive of well-being in any kind of initiatives that are different. So a big thank you to them. Suzy, I want to ask you though, how do you see then your future? Because you've said that you're a very very young looking 45, and I don't mean that as some kind of blow smoke up your ass compliment. You could easily pass for 44. So do you see long term, is it sustainable, a comedy career?
Well, I have started to look at other things. I'm starting to branch out a bit because I've moved back to Devon, which I love and I will never leave. I found my lovely man. I'm with my family. I've got my friends around me. I love Devon. I love Plymouth. And after the pandemic, a couple of comedians from Plymouth, we started the Plymouth comedy tours. So we've been doing a walking tour, which has taken off, and we've got five-star TripAdvisor reviews. We did our summer tours and they were so successful. We did a few Christmas tours. They sold out immediately. So this year we're going bigger and better. We're going to do different routes and I can see that's something that's going to go on for as long as we can go with it. I've been doing a bit on radio. So I'm sort of looking at not just stand up, but looking at other things. I'm desperate to do panto. That's my bucket list. I want to do panto in Plymouth. That's my big dream. But I'm looking at other things now. So I've done a couple of I do events as well as comedy, like host events, and I'm lucky enough I've got a little network going on in Plymouth now where people ask me to come along and host events and guest on. I did a study for a university, which was about freelancers, and we did an improvisation. And so the radio is something I want to get into. So I'm exploring things, but being back home, it's sort of like the universe wanted me to come back home because all these things have happened since I got back. And I even did a voiceover job, John. Wow. After all those years of hating my voice, I was paid.
That's incredible.
To talk about Plymouth for a tourist app that you can get. So yeah, it's called the Plymouth Trails App, and you can download it. So when you're walking around, you can press the audio, you can read it and see the pictures of what it used to look like. And then you can press the audio and hear good old me going, all right, my lovers. You're just looking at the bombed out church. I don't say it like that. I do my telephone voice. I do my posh voice. But I talk about Francis Drake and the murder and about the Plymouth Hoe, which is a seafront.
Yeah.
And my favourite place in the world, which is Tinside Lido. You might have seen it on telly.
I know Tinside Lido, yeah.
I love that place. It's my happy place. And I talk about that on the app. So talk about what it used to be like during the war, because it's from the 30s. It's an Art Deco Lido. And so I talk about that. So I was very proud to be picked to do that, because a few people applied and they thought, well, we like her voice. Sounds like 12-year-old.
we want this one. Do you think though that you seem to have come to a comfortable place in your life, right? So you got the love, you got the pasties, you got this kind of other ideas for career opportunities and things like that. Do you think that you were affected by lockdown, by the whole kind of no work for 2 years? What did you do?
Well, I live with my mum. I moved back a few years ago because I was going travelling, so I worked abroad for a bit, and I moved back here as a base.
That's right. Did you go to Cyprus or somewhere?
I went to Corfu, and
Corfu,
I had the absolute time of my life for 7 months. It was absolutely brilliant. And then obviously all my gigs got cancelled during the lockdown, but my dad had passed away 2019. So October 2019, me and my mum had already gone into lockdown. So we were sort of staying in, drinking gin and sort of having our little moment of, you know, we were grieving and we sort of just stayed in our little comfort blanket, and then suddenly lockdown happened and we were like, well, we've been doing this for months already, we've been already locked ourselves down. So, you know, we just kind of got through it by we ordered a lot of feel-good books. I read a lot of books that were set in little Cornish villages about nice people, proper escapism. We read every book that we could that was just a nice sort of sitting in the garden book. And I did some Zoom gigs, and that was nice. That kept me ticking over. I did some regular ones, so I did that, and then I got the voiceover job that happened. I had to go in, and it was, you know, but I genuinely thought, that's it now. What am I going to do? Because I don't think gigs will ever happen again. And for a while I was thinking, well, what will I do now? And luckily we did. I then started to get the outdoor gigs, and I was like, oh, this is great. We can still do this. And I was thinking, will people come out? But I actually found that the audiences were much more like, I don't want to use the word grateful, but they were like just loving being out and really happy to be at live comedy. And that's when I met my boyfriend, because he came to the outdoor gig.
So it all fits in, doesn't it? It all,
yeah,
things
he'd been
happen
watching
for
me
a
on
reason.
Zoom. He'd come to the couple of the Zoom gigs, so I was aware that he was there. And actually, that in the book I mentioned earlier, the subtitle was Zoom, just one look and my heart went boom. Because you know, he'd been lurking. And then so outdoor gigs, I was like, this is brilliant, we can do it. And then suddenly it started happening, and then I have this lovely relationship with the two guys that I do Plymouth comedy tours with. We did a lot of local gigs, and a lot of local Plymouth businesses were having sort of a Friday night, because people were working from home, so they'd have a Friday night comedy thing for their office, and we'd come on and entertain them. So it became a thing that we were getting all these businesses saying, oh, let's cheer up our staff, we're going to have like a night of comedy online. So that became, you know, a bit of a rolling thing. But yeah, I've just been busier than ever now, and I'm so grateful that everything's back. And you know,
Do you think everything is back, or at the back of your mind do you worry that it may go again?
I think the reaction to everything shutting down was so extreme, and people realised how important it was. I mean, things like I had theatre tickets that I've been waiting for 2 years to watch the shows, and I don't think it will. If we did go into another lockdown, it wouldn't be as extreme. I think, you know, we would still do outdoor things, but I do think it's back, and the walking tours as well. There's plenty of things that we can do outside, you know, taking it in another direction with, you know, meeting up with people and walking around, and radio. I think it's all right. I'm feeling very positive about it all.
No, I think that's great, and you're clearly in a really good place. But I just wonder, like a lot of the guests we've had on said that they found lockdown difficult because obviously financially they were hit. They also felt that they missed the kind of adulation of audiences, the traveling to gigs, that purpose, that structure, but mostly just having something to do.
For me, I actually didn't miss the traveling because I don't drive. So I was spending a lot of time on coaches and trains, and it was quite nice to not have to do that for a while. But I'm also very lucky. I know I'm in a position where a lot of my friends who had mortgages and families, you know, they were really struggling, but I'm at my mum's, so I didn't have that, you know, burden financially. So, you know, I was all right. I was counting my blessings, really.
And then did you manage to keep your friendships going with like other performers? Did you feel like you got a good support network?
Yeah, I did go off kind of the Zoom thing for a little while with catching up with friends. I found it a bit overwhelming for a while. You know, you start off and you're doing quizzes with everyone and you're having like catch ups with friends. And I think that petered out after a few months. I was just kind of like, I don't really, there's nothing new to say. Do you know what I mean? So I was kind of like,
yeah, what you been up to this week? I went to the front room.
Yeah, I was doing more texting rather than phoning because I found it all a bit overwhelming. And you know, me and my mum were quite low anyway because of dad, so we were kind of just supporting each other. So we had that, but we also in a way we were just grateful that he went before it all happened, because that would have been horrible to not be able to be with him and things like that. So. You know, I was trying to look on the positives of everything, and just very grateful that I got some brilliant friends, you know.
What's next? What's your ambition in terms of comedy? What are you looking to do?
Well, I want to do the panto. So this is the thing. This is my one. If people said to me, "What was your?" I wouldn't say Live at the Apollo. I would say I want to do the panto in Plymouth, because I used to go when I was a child with my grandparents, and I seen all the greats, all like Danny LaRue, Brian Connolly, Leslie Joseph out of Birds of a Feather. They've all been to Plymouth, got Gwan, all of them. And I would love to do a funny part, maybe like a fairy godmother or something in panto. That would be, because I miss doing sort of singing and dancing and that kind of thing, because I used to do that when I was younger.
Well, again, it's funny for me because, you know, like I've been doing cruise ships since 2003, and any chance, I mean, I can't sing, but any chance I get to sing a song on a ship, I'm like, I'm having that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like a pub karaoke singer. But come on, everyone, let's have a. And it's just a fantastic, that buzz, that feeling, that interaction.
Yeah. The closest I got was that when I worked a few years ago, I went to Corfu for 7 months, and I was working as an entertainer, and I used to do aqua aerobics with the audience, with the guests, and I would do funny aqua aerobics. So I would do like Gangnam Style and all that kind of stuff, and people loved it, and people would video me, and then I would jump in the pool. I got this guy to do the dirty dancing lift with me in the pool, and I met some amazing people. It was just such a brilliant thing to do. I just kind of wanted to go away somewhere sunny and just be in one place, because I think I was a bit lonely traveling around on my own all the time, and I thought I want to go and just be in one place and meet people and have, you know, and I made some brilliant friends, and lots of couples were there, got to know them a lot, and I got given a postcard, but I've got it here because I've kept this and I use it as bookmark sometimes, and there was a really nice couple I got to know quite a lot, and this was 2017, so there'd been a terrorist attack in London and the Manchester Arena bombings happened, so it was all in that time. And can I read it out to you?
Please do,
I love this so much. Dear Susie, thank you for making our holiday such fun. Recent events in Manchester and London can distort our faith in human nature if we are not vigilant. Comedy is such a powerful weapon. Our personal lives throw up challenges, and making people laugh is a wonderful release. Don't ever underestimate your ability to make people laugh and its importance in contributing to a sense of well-being. Don't forget, there is a very lovely man out there who you will meet one day. Much love and respect. That's nice. So nice, isn't it? And I did meet the lovely man eventually.
No, but it's nice though that, first of all, people have taken the time to show that they appreciate what you've done and that they care about you, but also that that's a lasting legacy that you can look at in your tough times or your down times or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm naturally a bit of a loner, and so I've learned how to be sociable, and I've learned the process of being funny. But left to my own devices, like lockdown was easy for me because I don't really need to interact or engage with anyone. But people like yourself, it's like you come alive. I physically see you grow. I remember when we went to Epsom or somewhere, I think it was, and we picked you up, if you remember, me and my son and my daughter, picked you up, drove down there. You'd done your hair in the car, got dressed in the car, jabbered, and my daughter still thinks you're one of the funniest people she's ever met in her life. But you just grew and grew. It wasn't like you had to switch on. Me, I switch on or switch off. But it's just there. It's just this big bundle of kind of relentless energy. And I just wondered then, when it gets a bit tough, now you've got your letter, do you have other things that work for you?
Well,
and your Colombo knickers, of course. Let's not forget.
Yeah, my Colombo knickers. I'm surrounded by inspirational things. Like I've got this, like my friend sent me, think of me as your cheerleader, and I'm surrounded by lovely pictures of friends and cards, and I got this, like my niece, like auntie, like a mum only cooler, which
brilliant, mate.
I totally bought and wrapped up and told her to give to me. So, but honestly, it was a few years ago. It was a very different story. And you said about me being a passenger in the car. I've had times, and my two besties in Plymouth, David and Christian, the comedians I do the tour with, we've done so many car trips together where I've been having a terrible time and I've cried the whole journey and just talked about what was going on at the time. And they've just been so wonderful to me. And now it's completely different. I've met my lovely man and I'm much happier. And I say to them, oh God, thank you for that. What you know, that all those times I used to cry on your shoulders, and and they're just so happy for me. They're like, it's just amazing how it's all come together. I was meant to come down to Devon for a reason, and it was when I was happy with myself and I didn't want anyone in my life. That's when it happened. And like you say about being a loner, I went through quite a long time of going to the cinema on my own, going
Yeah, I
swimming.
remember
I
you
love
used to talk about
swimming.
it. You
I
were
used to
one of the
go.
first people I knew who got one of those monthly cinema
Oh yeah.
cards, and you used to
Oh,
recommend
I
films to
used
me.
to
I'm like, you
go
can't surely
so
be watching
much,
all these
honestly.
films.
I used to plan my whole day around it and go see 2 films, and it was just the best, like, self-care, they'd call it now, wouldn't they? Just go and just really involve yourself in a film. And I'd love those days, just on my own with a coffee and my jacket over me, just watching films. And I'd go swimming on my own and just feel happy. And I didn't really need anyone in my life. And I had a couple of horrible relationships with people who were turned out to be narcissists, which I've learned a lot about in the last few years. I feel like I could spot one from a mile away. But it was when, and I actually said to my friends, oh, I think I'm going to stay single now, and I'm quite happy with that, actually. And then this man came into my life who and he was I already knew he was a nice bloke, because we had 2 mutual friends who knew him completely independently from each
So all
other,
good, all
who'd
good.
known him for years, and said, oh God, he's the nicest guy, and it's just been like a dream. And everyone says how great we are together. Can I show you this? He's funny and lovely, and he gave me this Valentine's card last year. And you know how I love going swimming, and I've got this flowery hat I wear sometimes if I'm like feeling flamboyant, and he put the flowery hat on, look, and he sent me
Nice,
the card
nice.
with the flowery hat on. Oh, but
So that's nice. That's nice.
yeah.
You've got someone to share your journey with.
And if I didn't have him, I would have been all right, I think, but it's a bonus. I wasn't out looking for someone. It was just a bonus that it happened, and at the right time for both of us.
But if you hadn't met him, your self-care, just going to the cinema or just
I go to the cinema, go swimming. And I actually, in January, I went on a retreat for a week, and I came out feeling completely different. And
where did you do that?
Well, this was Cheltenham. So I had originally booked to go to India for a 10-day yoga retreat, and I was supposed to do that. Wasn't long after Dad died, and I'd booked it, and it was going to be a great week of self-care and being on the beach and the sunshine and like healthy food and yoga and all this stuff. And then unfortunately it got cancelled because of the pandemic, and the money was sort of sat there for a couple of years, and I thought, well, I want to do something good with it. And so I decided to go on this weight loss retreat, but it wasn't about a boot camp or anything like that. It was all about your well-being and stuff. So we did like going out for walks, and we'd have healthy, lovely food, and it was in the Hilton, so it was quite a posh one. And there was 13 of us, and we all got really friendly really quickly, and we had such a good time. I laughed so hard that week. It was brilliant.
But wasn't it just all about having enemas and eating lentils?
No, nothing like that. It was just eating healthy, fresh, natural food. Nothing sort of, no fatty diet or anything. It was just really nice food, and we would exercise and go out and do different. We did raver-size, so we put on like neon paints on our faces, and we had glow sticks, and we were doing boxercise and all that.
Now, let's go back to raver-size for a second. Were they already doing it before you got there, or was that another great Bennett idea?
No, I wish it was my idea. No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And we did like aqua aerobics and all that, and we would go in the saunas and go out for walks. And the food was lush. And I learned a lot about nutrition, and I learned a lot about well-being and bad habits and breaking habits. And one of the reasons I went was because I wanted to get out of bad habits of sitting and eating in front of the telly mindlessly and that kind of thing. And in a week, I took a photo of my face before I went, and bearing in mind this was after Christmas, so I wasn't at my best. I took a photo of myself, and then a week later, and I look so different, because in the first photo I had puffy skin and bags and just looking tired, and then in the next one I look so fresh faced, and you can see in my face. And I just came out with this whole new mindset, and I learned that your taste buds renew every 7 days. So for a few days without sugar, I was eating a celery stick and going, oh my God, this tastes amazing, because my buds are come alive. And I think now, because of my age and everything, and I'm starting to sort of realize that I'm looking after my body now, instead of sort of blaming my body if I'm like feeling fat or I can't fit into something. It's me that's done that to myself. So I treat myself better now. I like myself more and stuff like that. I was doing a gig the other night, and I said, oh, I got the train. I don't get the megabus anymore, because, I've been through enough. I like myself more now. I'm not getting the megabus. Yeah. I'm practicing self-care by not doing that again. I'm going to pay the few extra pound for the train. Self-care.
And that fascinates me, that whole thing of, I remember your megabus story is just hilarious. Just your megabus privileges, I think you used to call it. When you could get
my friend calls it the Plymouth coach.
Just brilliant. It just strikes me, though, that there's a lot of people struggling and they don't know what to do. I always talk about because I've not had any periods of darkness in my life yet. I don't know what the future's got in store for me. But I'm fascinated by people who, like yourself, have kind of had these little battles, but have come to your own kind of conclusions, and you found not, sometimes you need meds, but mostly you need mates, pals, not pills. But what you've done, I think, is found something within yourself, and that comes from, I think, that sort of stability from having your mum, having your man. Also, I think you've got a real awareness. Like, say you're not comfortable with your accent, Normally in the film, you die. That's what happens, because she's just reached happiness and then gone.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But
always happens in the soaps. There's a big storyline in Emmerdale at the moment where they're getting married and they're really happy. So something terrible is going to happen.
Yeah. But it's not with you. You're just going to go from strength to strength. And I wonder then if you could kind of think about what you would tell yourself, that girl of 35 that was just struggling, not knowing what's going to happen. Could you think of some advice you'd give her or something?
I actually did. I did an Edinburgh show loosely based on what happened. It was kind of like a weird epiphany, really, in 2015, because a friend of mine had died at age 31, and I hadn't seen him for a long time. And all these feelings of, oh my God, I wish I'd spent more time with him. He was the funniest and most lovely person. And the fact was, I was spending too much time around people that didn't make me happy, and toxic friends, where you don't really realize they're toxic because you're a bit toxic yourself. And I was spending time with people mainly but out of habit, and sort of realized when I came away I felt worse after spending time with them, because they would be putting me down and just sort of, it was never, I got a few people in my life that I realized that I should have sort of phased out a long time ago, and having relationships with people who weren't very nice and treated me very nice. But I feel like that's what I felt like I deserved at the time. And then when Ian passed away, bless him, I realized, oh my God, why didn't I see him for so long? And one of the things was he wasn't on social media. And I thought, that's interesting, isn't it? That it kind of drifted apart. But I was packing up to leave. When I moved back to Devon, I packed up all my stuff and I was looking through, and I had lovely cards from him, funny cards and little notes we used to send each other. And it just made me think, oh, what a great friend, and even though I hadn't seen him, we would always have that friendship that we had. He was like my work husband. I called him my work husband when we were at Madame Tussauds together, and we just used to laugh all the time. And it made me realize, oh God, I'm spending time with people that don't make me laugh like he does and don't make me feel good like he does. And that kind of made me start thinking, right, you need to start having a look round at who you're surrounding yourself. There's that Oprah Winfrey quote, always surround yourself with people who lift you higher, And I realized that I had friends who would just put me down and just make me feel, and I don't feel the need to explain myself or anything. I just sort of kind of just quietly sort of went away. And it occurred to me that some of the people would be like angry with me because they wanted to know all my dramas. They were like, oh, well, what's up with you? And I'm like, oh, I'm fine, thanks. And they'd be like annoyed that I wasn't feeding they were like emotional vampires. There are people who kind of have you around because you make them feel better about themselves. And when I started to feel better, I didn't feel the need to sort of, be around these people. And I started to contact people I hadn't seen for a while and be like, hey, you on? And I was making more of an effort with friends. I was, right, I'm doing a gig in this town. Who have I not seen for a while? Who lives there?
Yeah.
And I was meeting up with people and reconnecting with people I used to work with, and, got rid of the rubbish man, and, started to sort of like myself better and treat myself better, and just, and
it's learning to be comfortable.
It was like, whoa.
Comfortable with your own decisions. Mate, I could talk to you for hours. As always, the hour has flown by. I will put up your details of your walking tours.
Yes. Come and visit and have a walking tour. Well, it'll change your life. We do Plymouth bingo and everything.
Plymouth bingo. It's just, mate, I'm on my way. That just to me is like the only problem with Plymouth is that it's miles away from Plymouth. It's like you drive for 5 hours and you're at Exeter, and then you've got another 2 hours to go. It's miles away from anywhere. They built it in the wrong place, but there you go. But look, thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you. It's been really lovely to see you and chat. And I hope some people might take away I mean, if I'm down, I watch the film The Holiday, because I identify with Kate Winslet in that film. You got gumption.
Get a bit of gumption. You take care. Speak soon, yeah?
Thank you. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye. That was Suzy Bennett. Absolutely amazing performer, but a really lovely person. What Suzy was saying there, very, very interesting. Quite a lot of really good tips, actually. keeping away from toxic people is one of my mantras. I realise that the closest person I dislike lives probably about 20 miles away from me now. I just don't do it. It means having clear boundaries, but it also means being selfish. But being selfish is also about self-care. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed just because you don't want to be around with people. The word no is one of the most powerful words in the English dictionary. And as Susie showed there, get positive things. If you can't have positive people around you, keep positive mementos. If someone writes you a card, keep hold of it, look at it in your darkest times. And don't be scared to send someone a card or send someone a text message or send someone a note. And especially for the men, if you've got a mate you haven't heard from in a while, ring them up. Send them a text, go, what are you up to, buddy? Do you want to meet up for a coffee? Or hope all is well, or I'm thinking of you, or whatever. Be the difference and make the difference. My top tips of well-being always is about reframing unhelpful thoughts. But don't let the monkey voice in your head tell you what you can do, what you can't do. Don't let your own inner monologue tell you that you're not good enough, because you are good enough. Let's be honest. We're all here. So we all survived conception. We all set off on that race that night to fertilize that egg, and we are the people who made it. So nothing wrong with putting yourself first or being selfish. Some meaningful hobbies, always good, like Susie's saying. Although she's doing a walking tour, it's actually a bit of exercise and fresh air. And it's about being in the present. Enjoy the moment. Don't think, oh, well, I was happier then, or I'm going to be happier in the future. It's about thinking, what can I do to just enjoy today? Connecting with others is great. Living a healthy life. Like, that was a great tip she gave us, that her retreat to Cheltenham, to actually go, you know what, I'm not going to lie on a beach. I'm going to go and improve myself. Your taste buds will rejuvenate in 7 days, apparently. So yeah, give that a try. Not really sure that I'm going to be ready for the celery just yet, though. Dave Sleep made a really good tip a few weeks back about be the difference. Be that difference. Be that person that's going to pick up the phone. Be that person that's going to be the one to reach out. Kane Brown talked about being selfish and looking after yourself. Danny, bless him, Danny Postel, make other people happy. I guess that's what comedians do, really. We make people laugh, and in making people laugh, we feel good about ourselves. Jen Bristow talks about swimming in cold water. I'm still not ready for that. Jen, I'm sorry. You know, think the world of you, mate, but I don't think you can persuade me for that one. Andre, back in New Zealand, Andre King talked about talking, trouble shared is a trouble halved. But Philip Simon said being stubborn as well. So there's loads and loads of these great tips, and there's lots more of this kind of stuff on the mensradiostation.com website and the womensradiostation.com. Let's not forget. There's shows on there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Different people talking about different areas of well-being, wellness, and mental health. Some of them are practitioners, some of them are coaches, some of them are professionals, and some of them, like myself, are just lay people who seem to be surviving and are happy to be allies to people going through a tough time. Because as I've mentioned repeatedly, I've not had any mental health problems yet. I don't know what the future's got in store for me. And I just hope that if, God forbid, I do find myself in trouble at some stage, that there'll be people who will be willing to reach out and give me a hand and support me. So I guess part of this is about me being selfish. You can listen to the show again on Facebook and on the mensradiostation.com website. There's also links on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram as well, and on the Dulux Radio Network, which I think you can, if you want to listen, you'll find it. If you know someone who is struggling, Time to Change are a great organization who want to end mental health discrimination. You can just type in Time to Change and you'll get that. Mind, M-I-N-D, the mental health charity, feel that no one has to face a mental health problem alone. And it's not about waiting until you've got a mental health problem. It's about doing stuff now, today, tomorrow, and this week to try to just make yourself have a bit of resilience and to try to give yourself a bit of a fighting chance, really, so that then when a problem does arise, I'm not going to say you're going to get through it easier, but at least you'll be aware of what's going on and hopefully may have picked up some of the skills required to get you through it. And some of those skills I'm hoping you'd have learned from listening to us here every Monday night at 7 o'clock. Do stay safe this week, and whatever you're doing, just try and enjoy it, and then just try and be the difference. Try and, someone's in trouble, reach out. If you're in trouble, reach out. Let's just all be part of a big connective family, and that's what we are here at mensradiostation.com. Take care. See you next week.
3, 2, 1.
Well, that's the end of another episode of Reading the Signs with me, Comedy John Ryan. We're here every Monday night at 7 p.m. talking with comedians about mental wellness, mental well-being, and just trying to get the conversation going. What we're trying to do is show that it's good to talk, and we're also trying to show that everybody can go through the same experiences. A massive thank you to the WJ Group who sponsored the show, showing their commitment not just to mental well-being, but also to reaching as broad an audience as possible. It's great to be part of the mensradiostation.com family, so do check us out on the website, on social media. We'll be back next Monday. You take care. Stay safe, everybody.